everyone, welcome to the DC Practice Growth Podcast. I'm here in beautiful California, and I have two very special guests with me. We have been working together, Devin, for how many years?
Almost 2.
Almost 2 years. Dr. Brent, Dr. Devin, father and son chiropractic team, amazing practice here in San Ramon.
Yep.
Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yes.
Because if you're watching this right now, one thing Devin's going to do in the entire podcast is correct me on my English, the way I pronounce things. But amazing, beautiful area, beautiful practice. We've been working together. We've done some records together. And we've done some amazing stuff. And this has all been passed. We would like to say, hey, Dr. Brent, that he's living off the good work that was done before him. I'd love to hear a bit more about you guys' story. And I guess why do we do this? We do this for people to get a bit of a picture of what's working, what's not working, what has worked in the past. Often everything is recycled again. Just before we started shooting, we were talking about yellow page advertising.
Sure.
And how even some of the margins involved with some of the stuff you're doing in yellow page advertising resemble some of the challenges chiropractors are having right now, advertising things like neuropathy, etc. So we'll start there. Dr. Brent, I'd like to start with you if that's okay.
Sure.
How many years have you in practice? Where did you qualify? Where did you study?
So I've been in practice 45 years. I went to Los Angeles College of Chiropractic and then had an opportunity to move up here to Northern California right out of school. And love the area here.
And where the practice is now, was that where you opened originally?
No. So I actually worked for Dr. Charlie Ward, who also did practice management. So at the time I joined his practice, he actually had 200 clients. So
consulting clients?
Consulting clients.
Okay, so you worked with 200 practices across the US.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so I learned a lot. I also contributed a lot to the practice. And after 18 months, I was given an opportunity to buy a practice in the area. Found out my wife was pregnant at the time, and it's just everything kind of meshed, and that's where the universe took me.
How old were you when you set up the practice, the first practice?
24.
24. Young, eh?
Yep.
Very young. Baby on the way?
Yep.
Did you practice by yourself?
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
And how long
and then I did bring in associates over the years.
And how did it go from the word go?
It went great.
And do you think because I owned the 8 offices and I had a lot of associates work with us.
Sure.
And I always say they got to cheat a little bit and they had an unfair advantage because they had worked in very successful practices and then they went across into their own thing. And I worked as an associate for 2 years first.
Okay.
I always say it was a real blessing for me to be able to do that because I got to kind of practice or learn on someone else's dime, essentially. So did you think that like starting the way you did, not being an associate, working for an incredible doc who taught other docs how to do things, do you think that was like integral was that helpful?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when docs say to me that they want to start a practice right out of school, I go, you're crazy.
Yeah.
And especially if they don't have a consultant. I've always had consultants over the years to help the practice and to help me.
Yeah, I mean, I was just on that context, you've been practicing for 42 years.
45.
45 years.
Yeah.
When we started working together, and then it was an event in Boise. I think it was an event in Boise. And then Dr. Brent, when you came with, I was so humbled, Texas. Yeah, it was in Texas you came. And I was so humbled. And you were taking notes and you were in the front row and everything like that. And I thought, like, I see so many great events. And sometimes the whole front row is taken up. It's opposite to what you think. The speakers on stage are often the guys in the front row taking notes,
Right?
Because they understand the importance of it. So you've always looked for the noodle thing, so I was so humbled when you came across the event after 45 years in practice.
Hey, I'm still learning, and I'm still willing.
That's the best part.
Yeah.
That's why I won't let him fully retire.
I know, we've had this conversation.
Yeah.
So you practice then straight out. I would love to know, actually, interestingly, when you started practicing 45 years ago, you've been a business, so you were 24. 24? What does your first 6 months in practice look like from a marketing standpoint, or like what did you do then? Where was your mindset, and what was working, and what was essential for you to get the practice to grow?
So fortunately, when I was working for Dr. Ward, one of my patients, his father used to coach the girls varsity basketball at the high school. So Charlie used to tell us, get out in the community.
Yeah.
And we also did do, once a week, we did healthcare classes.
Yeah.
But I had a pretty successful practice after 18 months.
Yeah.
And then found out my wife was pregnant. Ended up, at that time, I was kind of scared because I was an associate and I was doing okay, but not where I knew I needed to be or wanted to be.
Yeah.
So, and then this opportunity came up. I just went to tell another chiropractor in the area that I heard he was getting married, went to congratulate him. He said, hey, my practice is for sale.
Oh, you bought a practice, yeah.
Yeah, so I bought a practice.
Yeah.
And it was an okay practice,
Yeah.
but then my other practice was 5 miles away,
Yeah.
and a lot of the patients came.
Okay, that's what I came across, yeah. So what would be what would have been a home run marketing strategy for you 45 years ago or 40 years ago? You said get into communities, when you say workshops, in-house workshops,
Yeah.
orientation class.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
How, that is, well, especially when I see with the younger docs, that's quite now it's like not everyone does that. But when you were practicing, it seemed like every single doc did some type of orientation workshop.
I wouldn't say every, but that was being taught in the profession. And then I also got involved in the Lions Club, so doing community service. So my parents always did community service. So what I've learned, the more that you give in life, the more you receive.
Okay, awesome, man. That's fantastic. How many years did you do orientation workshop, and how many workshops a week did you do? One or?
No, we just did one a week. But I will say, the workshops weren't easy. And there are times you'd only get 1 or 2 people show up. I wish every time it was 20 people, 30 people in the room, but that wasn't what it was. But a lot of those patients that came to the workshops became really lifetime patients.
So doing a workshop for 4 people, 3 people was something that you did for years.
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
It's such a...
And the other thing is, and fortunately, Dr. Devin also does it. If somebody's having a problem on the weekend, call us. We can either give you a recommendation of icing, stretching, or come and see them on the off.
You'd give people a number to phone on the weekends if needed.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
And not, it's like,
And they don't
take advantage of it,
No.
but when they really need you, it's like you're their first line of defense.
What number do you give them?
My cell phone.
You do give
Yeah.
same here.
Yeah.
It's not abused.
It's never abused. It's so interesting that you say that. My brother is started a brand new practice 18 months, not even 18 months ago. I think he's only just past a year.
Second read.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, Molly. Hey, let's. I thought that would be a good idea.
You're going to be the star of this podcast, pal.
Yeah, girl. I know you were like witching hour. Let's go.
I wonder if Molly would sit here and be brilliant.
In there. You stay in there.
That's going to be the thing.
But the other thing, the other thing is, if it's an emergency, we're going to charge emergency fee, because it also takes me a lot longer by the time I get there, or if I need to take x-rays. If I have my team there to help me, it's better. So I need to be compensated. So I know, when you first start in practice, you've got this poverty complex, right? And you think everybody else can't afford it, but the truth is, if they need it, they will find it.
Did you never open Saturdays?
I did until I had my first child. And then between being there half day Saturdays, going home, doing the gardening, Sunday, it just didn't give me any time. And then once I had my daughter, I said, that's it, no more Saturdays.
We were actually talking off camera about how many shifts a doc should work. So if you're watching this right now, guys, I work with so many chiropractors all around the world. So here's my understanding from this is, and from what I've seen in the profession is, if you want to do hard volume, want to do really, really smash it, 7 shifts a week, with a shift being like AM or PM. If you work a full day, that counts as 2 shifts. So it's come through. So that's typically what I see. And actually the nuance, we were talking off camera, because I've just persuaded Dr. Devin to take off Fridays completely. But now you work 7 shifts, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just want to get back to that, like the telephone number. So my brother's brand new practice from zero. He's just over 250 visits a week right now within the first year of practice.
Wow.
One of the most successful startups I've ever seen in any practice ever. And Dean breaks, and so do you guys, breaks almost all the rules when people come to us like professional. Never give your telephone number out. And here's the thing. Here's the thing with it is we have a small group of people actually relatively, because even if you're 1,000 a week practice, it's not 1,000 patients you're seeing. It's probably like a small group of 300, 100, 200, 300 that form the basis of your business. And I know you guys are familiar with it, but Pareto's principle of 20% of your, it's the 80-20 rule, 20% of your 80% of your revenue typically comes from 20%. And when I analyze most people's accounts, it's actually less. I'm seeing that even more amplified. And if you think about your top 20% of your customers, is it a train smash to give them your telephone number in case of emergency? And absolutely not, because it's so worth it. So Dean does that. My brother does that also.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting to listen to that, because one of my greatest mentors in marketing, Dan Kennedy, would call that personal account management. And he'd be like, I could grow your business, all the fancy smancy funnels, Facebook ads, whatever, could probably never account for you just being more personal, passing on your number, letting them know they can call you personally if they're in a challenge. And they hardly ever do.
After their first adjustment, if they're under 50, I'll shoot them a text. Because if you're under 50, you do not pick up your phone. So I shoot them a text just telling them like, hey, great adjustment today. I'll give them something that they need to do that's active. And then I say, just so you know, this is my personal cell. If you or your family ever needs me, I'm here for you. And then if they're over 50, I'll call them and they'll pick up typically. If not, then
and if they're over 50 and you call, they're amazed that the doctor's calling.
Yeah, they love that.
And they're
it's
like,
old school.
Nobody's ever called me. And I said, no, this is different. I'm invested in you. You're invested in me. Let's make a lifetime partnership.
So far, we've started this, and it's so interesting. If someone's watching this right now, the things that sometimes I really want to grab people and say, take notes of, that's the thing. But no one watching this right now would think that that I would be saying, take notes with it. And there's something else I want to mention at the moment. So you give people your personal number when they need it. You personally text them, and you personally do that from your telephone number.
Yes.
From your phone.
Yes.
You actually sit and type it.
That's right.
Well, and when I call them, it's from my cell number, so I let them know. Put my office number 1, so you're not calling me every time you want an appointment or something happens, but put mine second in there. So if you do need me for you or any of your family members, if they have kids, I say, look, your kids are probably going to play sports. If they get injured on the weekend, if you think they need an x-ray or something, call me. We've got digital x-rays. We can look at it, and then we can advise right away and start helping.
And there are a few personality types I will not give them my number.
But we
all know those patients, but that's okay. And then I know you were talking about coming in on the weekends to see patients. That's actually a great time to get family members under care, because they're never coming by themselves. And then you educate, and then you can do a quick exam. And then get them set up.
Did you ever practice Saturdays?
No.
No, you never.
No, but I'll come in for emergencies.
So why I asked you if you physically type on the phone is we live in the day, and I own a digital marketing agency.
Sure.
So everyone's trying to automate everything. Everyone's trying to say they will automate it doing this great softwares, but what I have seen is we're over-engineering it. How many new patients do most chiropractors see a week? Like, let's call it 5, okay? And I know there's guys that see 15, and there's people that see 2 or 1. But let's say most chiropractors see, how many would you say on average how many new patients on average would you say the average chiropractor sees, or what would you guys see in the practice?
We do like 15 a week.
Yeah, across all the docs?
Yeah.
So let's say each doc is getting like 5 to 10 new patients. We're only talking about 5 texts.
Right.
It's ridiculous to even... The amount of complexity we're adding but it must be automated, and the team must be able to do it, and it must be from a computer system. It's 5 texts. And the minute we start, the minute the narrative moves towards that's too much work.
Right.
We're in trouble.
But it's also just not new. It's also just not new patients. It's if you have a patient who came in that day and you know they were really struggling, you text them to check in. And it takes 10 seconds, but that means the world to them.
And also I want to point this out. We are talking about a multi-7-figure practice here. So anyone's watching this like, oh, it's nice. They might. It's not like a really no. This is a top 1% practice.
And it's also a cash practice.
And a cash practice.
Right. So we're at a network of all the insurance companies. So if they have insurance and covers out-of-network docs, that's great. But they pay us at the time, so it's not where we're carrying a lot of money on the books.
Yeah, I mean, California, statistically, the most chiropractors on the planet. So it's not like you have, it's not like you have a free reign of every. There must be plenty of chiropractors not too far from you.
Sure.
So so incredibly, and something else you guys do. So you seem to just do the personal account management stuff really, really well. Talk to me through, is it Thanksgiving?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, what do you guys do every single year for Thanksgiving?
So for Thanksgiving, we do something called Pie Day. Yeah. And for Pie Day, we literally go to Costco and we'll call early. Actually, I'll have Dr. Waterman call because now he works for me. But
we're gonna get into that in a moment. I'm saving that. I'm saving that up my sleeve.
So we'll order up about like 150 pies.
Yeah.
They take the Costco label off, and these are like these huge 18-inch pies. They're the biggest pies anyone has ever seen.
And they're very good. They're very tasty.
Yeah.
And they're organic.
Yeah.
So we looked at some other pie shops, and it was just too much volume for one day. So we go, and it's also a good practice builder because when you're walking through Costco with a full pallet of pumpkin pies, people notice. So we this year we ordered. I think we came up with 100. And we have to load them up in the car in the parking lot, and then we bring them to the office, and then we go back at lunch just to make sure we don't end up with
more.
Well, we always do.
Yeah.
Yeah, so and patients love it. But this year when I went back to Costco, I had to buy another like 45 pies or something. So I bring the 45 pies in, and the checkout person goes, "Oh, this is nothing. Some guy came in yesterday and got 100 pies."
And it was you.
And it was me.
That's so funny.
Yeah, so that was pretty good. But anyways, patients come in, and it's just like for the sake of giving.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So everyone who comes in, they get their pie, they love it, and they bring it to their Thanksgiving, and everyone talks about it.
Yeah, I think what's important and nuance here that's interesting is, so you guys do it because you understand that there's a service element first that has to happen, and but Dan Kennedy talks about this.
But it's also heartfelt when we're doing it. Yeah, we're not just doing it just for marketing. It's also.
Who else has ever done that for them? When they walk in and there's a pumpkin pie,
right?
There's not a single person that's gonna. I can almost guarantee you that not a single other person has been given a pumpkin pie by any other business.
Right.
Yeah. So from that, there's like a recall element to that. But there's another element to that. There's this cool like research study that or that was made to me by Dan Kennedy again, and he said that from a retention standpoint, there's this thing that happens with customers that a massive part of retention is something called expectancy. And he said customers like to generally expect, but not specifically expect. So let me stay with me here. So next Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
If
we don't do it.
So next Thanksgiving, they're like, oh, I hope I get the pie. But they can't be upset if they don't get a pie.
Right.
They generally expect you to give something, but they can't specifically expect you to give them the pie because that would be weird for a human being to go, hey, where's my pumpkin pie?
Right.
But that level of, oh, I wonder if I'm going to get a pumpkin pie this year, that they were able to show just how much, he called it expectancy, meaning they are expecting something from you around Thanksgiving, not specifically, but generally, every year you guys are really giving.
Yeah.
And he said,
plus we do promote it in the practice now.
Okay.
Right. So we put a flyer out, Pie Day, set your appointment for that day.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I actually had a new patient on Wednesday who came in, and she said, hey, and by the way, I had your pie. Yeah, this Thanksgiving. So that's the first time like I really saw that. And the funny thing is her birthday is March 14th. So of course it's the the Pie Day girl.
Oh,
who said that. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. Well, it's we quite a way, but in this podcast already, we're talking about a multi-7-figure practice, and all we've really spoken about so far is fluffy stuff.
Yeah, sure.
That most people would say is fluffy stuff, right? Mm-hmm. Hey, we are phoning over 50s on their first adjustment. Mm-hmm. We're texting under 50s on their first adjustment from your personal number. Yeah. You're also telling them, call me whenever you need me, including weekends if you need me. You're sending pumpkin pies across to patients. We spoke about workshops or orientation workshops, whether there's 10 in the room, whether there's 3 in the room. Right. Mm-hmm. And there is no bad thing that can happen. Anyone listening to this right now, I'm going to preach this till I'm blue in the face. There's no bad thing that can happen from a wellness orientation workshop. No bad thing. Right. I mean, where there's 3 people there, and I think we've gotten to the stage where people are like, oh, but it's not worth my while. There's only 3 people coming to every workshop.
Those are typically the best ones. Yeah.
And then they refer in. I mean, that's your 20%.
Yeah.
The ones that show up, right? It's the 80-20 rule.
I don't know where we've actually, Dr. Brent, I'll ask you this. So you've been in practice for 45 years now. Tell me your perspective of kind of what's changed in chiropractic, or what do you think? What would you say the key thing? You've obviously would have been spent time with so many successful docs and unsuccessful docs. Tell me some of the challenges you see in the chiropractic profession right now, and has it changed since your time when you started?
Has it changed? I mean, a lot of docs aren't willing to do the work, and they're not willing to learn. They feel, I get out of school, I hang my shingle, and people are going to come on and be successful. It doesn't work that way at all. So, but I've always given, I've always promoted, I've given t-shirts, I've given thermoses, different things so that they see my name too. So it's name recognition. And a lot of people that come in, God, I've heard your name for years.
Wow.
And
let's transition a little bit. You practiced for 45 years, and then you went to study chiropractic.
Yes.
Okay, and then how did the transition happen from, did you go straight into the practice with your dad?
Yes. Yeah. So when I was in school, he told me, you learn a little bit in school, but everything that's real is you learn outside of school. Try and take as many seminars as possible, visit as many practices. So I saw as many different styles of chiropractic. And then I was like, well, I like this style, but I've also grown up with it.
Actually, to go into that a little bit, what is this style? Tell me, describe the practice for us.
I mean, it's
full body. I do a lot of sports medicine. So I'm doing from head to toe, and I'm doing from the womb to the tomb. So I got babies, and my oldest patient's 103 right now. So, but it's treating everything.
And your open plan?
Pardon me?
The practice is open plan.
But it wasn't like that.
No, it was not. It was not.
Yeah. So he came from the old school, like Gonstead. Everyone's gowned. Motion palpation. Everyone pre-check, post-check, the whole thing. He had like the skin marking pencil in his ear, right? We had to like do the x-rays with all the Gonstead things. So we've definitely shifted. I mean, sometimes I'll see like his old patients will come in and like the guys are like taking their shirts off. I'm like, oh yeah, we don't need to do that anymore.
Cool.
But so that's...
Well, these are ones that haven't been in for a long time.
No.
Sure.
But they've been in the practice for years.
Right.
Wow, amazing.
Long time. But so the practice is morphed, but he was very sports oriented. So all my sports teams, he was the doc. And that's what I loved. And then when I was
I also got involved as far as in the city, soccer. I mean, I was setting up sports med tents. I'd bring other chiropractic sports practitioners in to man them because I couldn't put all the hours in. But, it's all that stuff.
That adds up. And it's interesting, we said you don't practice on Saturdays, but you must have spent many a Saturday at a sports event then over the years.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So because, I work with some docs at the moment, and if you're watching this, take it as a pinch of salt, but especially my younger docs who won't do a workshop because they don't want to work in the evening, one evening a week. It's like, here's the thing, that's when people can come to... that's when people come to events. I'm in consulting. If you're watching this, you know that. I run agency and I have a consulting group. And it'll be absolutely naive and stupid for me to say that I'm not going to work on Saturdays because when can docs come to my events? Or when can they come to a webinar? Mostly only at like 8 p.m. in the evening. Sure. So that's just...
And our calls are at 5 a.m.
Absolutely.
Yeah, my time 5 a.m.
Your 5 a.m. That's another thing working with Americans. As I'm like getting up early in the morning. In the UK, someone won't do a call before 10 o'clock, I promise you.
Right.
So, okay, cool. So tell me about the practice now. So
with the practice, initially it was very mechanistic.
So when you worked as an associate for your dad, were you still practicing like that?
A little bit, but not fully. I started to transition a little bit, and then I brought more of like I went to Life West, which is more of a vitalistic school. So I brought more of a vitalistic flavor into the office, and now we've morphed way into that side. But we still do sports injuries and all that type of stuff. But my talk is more nervous system based. And
every week?
No, to my patients. We need to get back into doing more talks. That's one of our big things. So the practice has changed, and then we also moved from closed room adjusting because we know how that goes. You have a closed room. We had like a sliding door, and then all of a sudden,
did you ever have curtains?
No curtains. No, it was like a wood sliding door.
A lot of my first mentors had the curtains.
Oh yeah. Yeah. The hardest part though is when you have a patient in the next room to go into, and then the patient that you're working on, they stand up and they're blocking you from exiting the room, and they're like, "So let me tell you about what's happening with my relationship." And you're like, "Oh, like I need to get around you." So we don't have that now. Now we have a beautiful open space. It's 1,500 square feet in there?
Well, it's 800 square feet.
Oh, 800 square feet in there? 800 square feet in there feels like 1,500.
Yeah.
And then our partitions between the table allows us to go on either side. So it creates like a lot of freedom. Yeah. Plus, patients don't like to talk like that.
And we do have a partition between the tables, but it's only 4 feet high. So the beauty is we can make faces at each other.
Or communicate.
or communicate. It's a way of communication, but it's just a fun space. Also, we have the windows, so it's light.
Yeah. I mean, I came to visit yesterday, and there were, I mean, it must have been 50-50 when it comes to, there were kids, there were families, and there was, I think just about everyone coming for Justin yesterday when I was in there had brought their family with them, just when I was there. So, I mean, families grow practices. Oh, that's what I was going to say about Dr. Dane. So Dr. Dane, he always said like all these chiropractors talking about this like retirement or exiting your practice, and he says my exit strategy is like I just want my son to come practice with me. And he said like, and I always look at this, and I love that. He's like that's my, and he's so Dr. Dane's son's just qualified from Life. Life in Atlanta, and he's like that's his like retirement plan. I want my son to come work with me. He's like,
well, I actually had an associate that was with me. And when I talked about, having Devin go work in another practice so he can really be in the trenches and feel some stuff, she said, why would you do that? She said, you've got such a great practice. Why do you want him to learn somebody else's procedures and techniques? And, it's been a beautiful thing.
So tell me the transition then. So you started practicing together, and then Devin, you have now employed your dad. So you've handed over the torch. And this is exactly what my good friend Dr. Dane says. I just want to do that for my son. I want my son to take over the practice sometime. How long ago was that?
Almost 5 years ago.
5 years ago. Running the practice. Tell me a bit about your year. Good year. Last year, 2024.
Last year was a good year.
Best year in practice.
Best year in practice.
Okay, awesome. Tell me some of the keys to that. Why do you think you had such a good year?
I think a lot of it was.
They don't understand it. Well, a lot of it was, that wasn't a bait question. It's like, what do you think?
It's a setup, but it's not a setup.
No. What do you think clicked for you guys?
So I think like the biggest thing with you is like having a vision. Like, what's your 1, 3, 5 year plan, and then how do you execute that? Because we just like the practice would just organically grow, but it was like we had no goal in mind. You're like, oh, we're here now, and then you find like. Your practice was maybe set up to only see a certain volume, and then you reach that capacity, you weren't ready for it, and then things start to break. So I think just seeing where we're headed, where the ship's going, and then knowing the keys to getting it there.
Services you offer in the practice. So do you guys offer? So you have a decompression?
Yeah, we have. So we do a lot. We have decompression, shockwave. We do. It's like a high intensity PEMF. We have a nutritionist who comes in. But as the doctor, I'm pretty much just adjusting. And then I have my team is in charge of doing the other thing. So I'll do the initial like scan with like the shockwave. And then tell them what they need. But then my team's doing the active care.
So that way we can communicate to the team what we want each time. So we'll fill out a little form, show them where the therapies are going, what we did, and it's great.
No, that's awesome. I think there was one particular month last month, which I love this dynamic. I think it's so cool. I often think about my sons and daughters if they do become chiropractors and how I can help them. But you had a record month. There was one of your months last month. You absolutely killed it. There was we did a strategy, and then you messaged me and you told me, what an amazing month we had. And the first thing I said to you is, what did your dad say? Because I think you guys did a price rise strategy.
Did that.
And I thought, what a cool thing to be able to do, to be able to like share in that together and be like, wow, what a killer month we had together. And that just comes of, big finances comes off big service, comes off a happy byproduct of serving first,
Sure.
So it was epic to be part of that journey with you guys. And then first thing I wanted to know was couldn't care less if you were happy about it. But I want to know. I want to know Dr. Brent about it. And I think you said my dad's. I think exactly it's where my dad said, "Holy shit, Devin."
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
What an epic month, Yeah. All right. Cool. So, tell us a little about 2020-2025. And what do you guys see? I'm actually here because we're going to be doing 2 days together with a few docs where we look a bit more deeper into finances and we share everyone's finances. You had to prep a lot of stuff for the tour. How was that?
It was good. Luckily, I have a good accountant and bookkeeper, so we just compiled all the data and it was nice.
So to be in the room, just for everyone's benefit here, so everyone in the room has to supply side-by-side profit and loss for the previous 2 years, really, in some way, shape, or form, a balance sheet, scorecards, and then like a 2-page business plan. It's a lot of prep, right? There's probably like eight docs that you had to get in there.
Yeah.
Normally, that's half the benefit of the. Normally I'm pretty much done for the 2 days already because just going through that for most docs is really, really difficult to even get to a point where they can submit that stuff. So, what does 2025 look like for you? Actually, Dr. Brent, I'll say you want to play a bit more golf.
I am going to play more golf.
Playing more golf,
Do some fishing.
Some fishing.
Also more community service.
How often are you practicing now?
Day and a half.
Day and a half, okay. Yeah. Fantastic.
So I was practicing Monday, half day Tuesday, but what I found, and I said I'm not going to take any more new patients because I've got enough, but I had people who wanted to see me, new patients, so I decided let's go Monday, Thursday, so that way we go twice a week.
Yeah. Monday full day to Thursday full day.
No, Thursday half day.
Half day.
Half day. I'm not giving that up.
You've done your time, right? But only thing is, Devin won't let you retire. So
no, I mean he's great because he's like Mr. Fix It.
Yeah.
So if something needs to get done.
You refer to your dad.
Yeah. Well, he's already done. He's done it by the time it's. Yeah. But also like. How our minds work, or how probably he's trained my mind, is like we're always looking at like how to fix things, and like we're not afraid to get our hands in there.
Yeah, good.
One funny story was my in-laws were visiting, and my father-in-law was in the practice. I don't know what happened, but like a pipe burst or something, and water is spraying everywhere, and I'm getting under there like trying to fix it and turn it off.
Glamorous laugh.
And he's like, no, what are you doing? You have to call a plumber. And we're like, this place is going to be flooded if I call a plumber. Like, we got to get in there. So, and then he was like, wow, you get your hands dirty. I'm like, of course.
Glamorous laugh of a business owner, hey?
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times we've painted the office together in all these years.
Yeah, that's really But it's nice just showing up and having it done.
It is. And we do more of that now, too.
Yeah.
Of course. But no, if anyone knew, I mean, the glamorous laugh of a business owner, i.e., fixing toilets, doing the cleaning, painting the walls, and doing the whole
Or your adjusting table breaks, I mean, our closest person to repair it is like 2 hours away.
Yeah.
They charge you to come over, travel time, plus they charge you for the service, and when they leave, if it's not fixed,
that's
we're in trouble.
Yeah.
So fortunately, I'm very handy.
Yeah.
Devin, and we work together.
Got it.
So it works well.
And the structure, how many associates now? So let's say your dad's working 1.5 days a week.
Yeah, and then I have, there's 2 other associates that are full-time.
Yeah.
So we have one that's been with us for 2 years, which is great. And then the other one just joined us about almost a year ago.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
So how many years have you been in practice?
15.
15 years, okay. Yeah. And then you first 5 years, essentially, first 10 years.
Yeah, first 10 years.
With your dad as an associate, really, right?
Yeah.
And then you've just taken over the practice now. Okay, kind of in wrapping up the conversation we had here today, a couple closing thoughts from you guys, where it goes. I think you're super humble about what you've done in the practice. If anyone's watching this right now, it's just an amazing practice here in California, and you should really connect with the docs at some point to come have a look at the practice if you ever get opportunity. Multi-7-figure practice. I just want 2 or 3 things that you think have been integral in your success and making an awesome job. I would say I've got this blessed opportunity that I get to not only see, there's numbers, and then there's chiropractic math numbers, right?
Yeah.
So I got this really cool opportunity is that when I interview someone on a podcast or speak to them, it's because they're one of my students and some people I work with, and I actually see their numbers. Right? So this is written in black and white from the accountants, right?
Sure.
So incredible practice from that perspective. But tell us a couple of things that you think have been integral in your success. I'll start with you, Dr. Brent. What do you think two or three things that you could say to a brand new doc coming out of practice now would be what? Like, hey, if you want to be successful in practice, here's my advice.
Go work for a successful practice, number one, and hopefully one where they're involved in coaching.
Yeah.
So where you can get that flavor. And then as time goes on, you change coaches.
Yeah, of course.
You can. And you can keep some of the original ones and add.
But it's interesting, you've always had a coach.
I always have.
Always have.
Yeah. I mean, I've always Master Circle. I did Renaissance. I've done quite a few.
Yeah. Actually, Dr. Larry is
Morrison?
Yeah. So I connected with him recently. Yeah, he's obviously in Boca Raton. Yeah. And he's we chatted to him about coming to speak to one of our events. Yeah. So he's obviously, I think Dr. He told me over 1,000 docs at one point. There are over 1,000 docs in the.
Yeah, we used to have about 3,500 people show up at super conferences. And the speakers that we had, we had Deepak Chopra, we had Wayne Dyer, we had, you had some heavy hitters, which moved mountains.
They did. I mean, that's now almost, it's always a travesty for me that some of those old greats aren't speaking more conferences, and even when you give them a call, sometimes they're almost quite surprised to hear that they still wanted. Yeah. And I'm like, dude, like, what?
Are you on discount?
Like, yeah. I'm like, oh my goodness, like, they've forgotten more than most people could ever remember, about the profession. So, okay, perfect. And then what about you?
I would say the other thing that's really important is treat we don't call them staff, we call them teams. Staff is Staphylococcus. So, we don't want bacteria and disease, right? Yeah. And we definitely don't want team members that are staff, if you will. Yeah. But to treat them as human beings, we buy them lunch every Monday. Oh, wow. Just do nice things.
Tell me more about that. Because I tell you what you might not quite know is there's a couple of things. There's a couple of themes. I work with a lot of docs in Europe and a lot of docs here. I'd say the number one, there's a couple common themes when it comes to bottlenecks and challenges within practices are here in the US. Obviously, we've had wage inflation. Everyone's seen that. I cannot tell you how many docs I jump on a call with. Even they want us to do their marketing for them, and the biggest challenge is not even the leads, but anyone phoning the leads because they haven't got a single staff member. Lots. They've gone from like 3 team members to 0 in the space of like 6 months and hiring. And so staff turnover is a big deal right now. And you're in a very competitive employment market here. Yeah. So you have to pay pretty well to keep staff, but it's not just about pay, it's about other things.
It's about them having a great experience. It's like when I hear docs and they say want to keep their overhead low, so their office looks like low overhead practice. Yeah. Where I'm living during my waking hours, I want to be beautiful. I want to feel good about the space I'm in. Yeah. So, and I look at so many doctors' offices, not just chiropractors. Chiropractors probably have nicer offices than a lot of the medical docs. Yeah. But it's, you want to walk in where you feel invited. You feel like, wow, this is my place.
Talk to me a little bit more about this. You say, what else do you do with your team that you think has been integral in you guys' office? So Mondays you take them for lunch.
So Monday we actually have 2 meetings a month. So on Mondays our business a week, excuse me. Yeah. And on Mondays our business meeting. Yeah. And then on Wednesdays is team enrichment day. Yeah. So where we do some type of training or they do trainings. But on Monday, the idea originally was buy them lunch, we'll all hang out, talk a little bit, we'll have our meetings. But everybody's busy, we're busy. Yeah. So what we do is we bring lunch in, they take it if they want to eat in the office, they want to go, whatever. But, and it costs probably $15 to $20. But, to them, that's the money they've saved. Plus they look forward to it.
And it's not about the money, it's just it's the gesture.
It's just saying, hey, you know what, you're my family.
Yeah, absolutely, it's the gesture.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Any other tips with keeping staff, keeping team members or team members?
It's tough. It's tough. You never know. Like you can have the team member of your dreams. They're never gonna leave, and then all of a sudden it's like they're like, "Hey, Doc, can I talk to you?"
Yeah,
that's the worst. I'm like, "No, you cannot talk to me."
Just before shift.
Right.
Just before shift. That's all you can think about.
Oh, I'm gonna move to Texas or whatever.
I'm pregnant. Because you guys are in California, so you must. Do you hear?
Or like I'm pregnant with twins or whatever.
Oh yeah, we've had in the past 2 years we've had lots of pregnancies, and these are gals who couldn't get pregnant, but thanks to chiropractic, guess what? Their system's working.
But yeah, I mean, it's just you never know how long they're going to stay with you. Just pour into them, give them love, and
Have you ever taken the strategy of where I see sometimes I sometimes think business owners are a bit naive in that this idea that no one's ever going to leave when people leaving a business is normal. It's like everyone leaves. I always say everyone leaves. Every team member eventually is going to leave. They're not going to die with you. They can leave at some point. So plan for that day. I call it keeping a bench or having a little bit extra.
Yeah. So we always have one extra assistant.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's almost.
Well, we need one extra actually now.
You need extra.
Yeah.
But everyone's trying to run this low overhead business. But the only problem with that, if you don't have a bench, if you don't have people who are training. And I heard an interesting interview the other day. I can't remember who it was, but a guy found one probably around a billionaire tech company. He's like, people look at hiring too much like a replacement system, where hiring should be a networking system more, where we are networking all the time and we're hiring before we need people. We should be hiring.
Yeah.
We would want to always be filling a void because that's really stressful to trying to find that people.
Sure.
A couple tips from you. What has been interesting for you guys getting to?
Sorry about this dog.
That's good.
Loves being pet. So I would say, I mean, a lot of it has to do with your adjusting skill as well. So always be training and like have good hands. You want to make sure adjustments are comfortable. And also patient, it's all results driven. Like in our practice, because we're not insurance based, if you're not getting results, you're in big trouble. So it's just like delivering the best adjustment that you possibly can, and then patients stay, pay, and refer.
We're pretty lucky in this chiropractic profession that that in spite of ourselves, we can grow. Thank goodness chiropractic just works. I often say it's like, aren't we lucky, from that perspective. But so you've been in practice 15 years. What did you do on that journey? The very first slide, I'll give you some context. The very first slide I ever taught, or the very first course I ever taught, was a slide. So my first course I taught was New Patient Avalanche. And the very first slide was, I'm about to teach you some ninja skills when it comes to marketing that's going to grow your practice. But let me just be absolutely clear, nothing will ever surpass your ability to actually be good at your art. And actually, I've mentioned a couple of times, I said, Dr. Dane Donnie, he always says, his dad was a chiropractor. And he said that when he went to practice, his dad said to him, one of the most important lines he ever said to him was like, my son, you could be the best business person in the world, but just, you can never outmarket a bad patient experience. You'll never be able to outmarket a bad patient's experience. So what did you do as a young doc coming out of college, from when it comes to courses and to be good at your craft? I mean, I know you had your dad guiding you, but
I mean, it was mostly just like my dad told me, is like take as many seminars as possible.
Postgraduate courses while you're in school.
Got it. So I learned techniques that I don't like. I learned techniques that I love, but it's really just getting your hands on as many people and then getting live feedback. That didn't feel great. It's like when you see a doctor who's been in practice forever and then, they adjust and you're like, holy crap. Like that was not a good, that was like people see you. Oh my gosh.
It's like when you adjust your significant other. That's always the best. That's always the best. It's the best litmus test in the world. Because she will tell you, it's my favorite story with my wife, is she'll tell you when you're hurting the ear or you're pulling her hair. It's always the ear. But that's the thing, you want to adjust a significant other and you want to listen to those stories, I mean, I used to get so irritated when my wife told me her until one day I was like, sheesh, if I'm doing that to her, then I'm squashing everyone's earring into their head and stuff like that. So
and like you said, like one bad patient experience can ruin it. But I found if there is a bad patient experience and you confront it right away, then it's not a bad experience. It's just a miscommunication or something needs to change, right?
Yeah, good.
So, yeah, if you know that something happened, like get after that right away. That's the best possible thing.
Yeah, that's awesome. Hey, thanks so much for you guys' time today.
Sure.
I was excited to chat to you both today, and I think if you imagine the profession, because the truth is, the truth is that there's a lot of chiropractors struggling, and way too many.
There's no reason for it.
Listen, guy, I promise you, I jump on calls every single week, with chiropractors really battling to pay their bills. And
hey, Ryan, I can tell you. So in the States, there is insurance. I don't know what it's like in the UK.
It's way more cash based, but obviously we were 100% cash. But because we've got privatized healthcare, and most British people don't have medical insurance, and that's actually been a blessing for the industry there. Because chiropractors have almost always had to learn how to do a good job so they can get customers as opposed to rely on insurance. So you were saying, Dr.
But the reason I'm saying that, because I'll talk to a lot of chiropractors who belong to different insurance groups. They're getting less money, they're working hard, they're doing all this paperwork. I tell them, look, you need to get out of this. You need to go into more of a cash practice. You can give them diagnoses that they get paid great. If they don't, that's not your problem. But the docs, a lot of them are afraid that they're going to lose what minimal income they're making. But then once they get out, they're going, oh my God. I mean, I've got a good friend, and how long with Nick? He's been in practice probably 20-something years, and his dad was always in ASHP, which, you get $26 a visit. We're charging $75, right? So, and then once Nick dropped it, he was afraid he was going to lose these people, and they're going, I didn't realize he only got paid that much. And his first month, he made more his first month going cash than he did all the other time.
It's actually very interesting because I saw a very famous consultant here in the USA say now who was very, very high volume for a long period of time, and now reassessed his whole practice and was like there's the new $1 million practice can be done at like 200 visits a week actually.
Oh sure, easy.
And if we look at your practice, so without getting too detailed on numbers, but a multi-7-figure practice. And we're not talking about thousands of visits a week.
No.
And I think that's an important point to bring across. We're talking about multi-7-figure practice at not 1,000 visits a week. It doesn't have to be there. 500 visits a week. And you can absolutely do that from that practice.
Absolutely.
You also have to set people up on plans. It's not just pain based.
No.
It's not where, here, we'll treat you, you feel better, and call me tomorrow. No, this is vitalistic. This is lifetime care for lifetime health.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah. And I think the reason we do this podcast sometimes, I think since there's just one person watching this that gets oh wow, actually there are people practicing in very saturated areas with lots of chiropractors, with a multi-7-figure practice, doing incredible stuff, living the life of their dreams. That gives people a lot of hope, from that perspective. But also just to say, imagine if we had more father-sons teams where we were able to, where more practice, where there would be this passing of the torch going across. Because I just deal with so many chiropractors on a weekly basis right now that are struggling to pay their bills. And I really was excited to speak to you guys today, just because it's a cool story. And it's actually it's because I'm such good friends with Dr. Dane Donahue, and he said exactly the same thing to me. He's like, I don't want to exit strategy. I want to hand this. I want my son to take this over. What a cool story, Closing thoughts. 2025. You want to play more golf and you want to do more fishing, which is a cool.
Wow. More time with the grandkids, but continue with chiropractic. I'm 70 now. I still want to continue doing this for a long time. I have a short commute. That's another thing I'd recommend. Don't buy an office that's 30, 40 minutes away. I have an 8-minute commute each way. So if I need an emergency, I run it. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, got it. Awesome. Closing thoughts from you. 2025. What's 2025 look like for you? You have you've done incredibly well in practice. You've absolutely rocked it last year, a record year. Our last conversation we had was we need to get your shifts down, which is interesting for someone listening to this. I typically say that I don't I don't think I can see you can do some incredible stuff working 7 shifts a week. Some doctors work 8 shifts a week. You were working 9 shifts a week.
Yeah.
So we wanted to get you down a little bit, but keep the volume the same and keep the revenue the same. So
so we tightened up a few things as far as like how I'm seeing patients.
Yeah.
So blocking out specific times for new patients, making it so my volume can go up a little bit, but in a shorter amount of time.
Yeah.
And then I have 2 other associates that their schedules aren't full. Like mine's like packed, and I really want to grow them, get them seeing more volume, and they're great docs and good adjusters, and that's the plan for 2025. And now I have Fridays off, so I can do more admin work or a podcast like this.
Oh, that's awesome. But if you had to see the back end of their finances and the way they run the practice, guys, you run a very predominantly simple practice.
Yeah.
There's no fancy frills really. You give a lot of value. I say it's interesting. We say simple. It's simple, but it's not easy. For most people, it'll be like, I know it sounds simple to give pumpkin pies and to phone the people, but the truth of the matter is most docs will not text 5 new patients a week. That's too much work, So I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you both and have you both on the podcast, and I've been excited and blessed and honored to work with you both in any capacity. And for me to say I had a little part to play in it, tiny little part to play in it, is so cool,
Yeah.
So from that perspective, so I think 2025 is going to be a great year for you, and you're going to continue to grow the practice. Hey, thanks for listening to us. Hope you got 1 or 2 little snippets. I always say it's the small little 1 or 2 things they say that I promise you is the next key. Dr. Brent's been going to conferences for 40 plus years, and often it's those 1 or 2 little snippets you write, like the phone call, like the pumpkin pie, like giving your patients their telephone number. I hope you learned something from this, and stay tuned. If you need our help with anything, let us know. Otherwise, keep serving, be awesome. See you soon.